Good evening and welcome to Current Issues. I'm your host, Hesham Tillawi. Tonight on the program, ladies and gentlemen, we will be speaking about the circus in New York. I am speaking of the General Assembly of the United Nations. It's the 64th General Assembly, where world leaders meet. They sit there for hours and hours through boring speeches and words. You might think, when you hear one of those presidents speaking, you might think everything is going to be okay. Of course, the world thought that everything will be okay with the establishment of the United Nations, because it was supposed to be the body that will protect and serve the world. Well, leaders spoke today. We're going to basically concentrate on a couple of them. That is Obama and Ahmadinejad. Ahmadinejad said 9/11 was a big fabrication. Obama said that it is time for the world to get together to solve the problems that the United States have created in the world. Obama said today that the United States expects help from others in addressing these issues. He said those who used to chastise America for acting alone in the world cannot now stand by and wait for America to solve the world's problems alone, he said. We have sought, in words and deed, a new era of engagement with the world. Now is the time for all of us to take our share of responsibility for global response to global challenges. Well, those are good words, ladies and gentlemen, from the President of the United States. My only comment on that is the United States went alone in this war on terrorism. It went alone when the world told her, don't do it. When they said, don't go. Now, President Obama wants the world to come together and share responsibilities for what the United States had done in the world. But I think the world should, even though, because the whole world has been affected by what the United States had done in the world. He said, as for our common security, America is waging a more effective fight against Al-Qaeda. While winding down the war in Iraq, so we are fighting effectively on Al-Qaeda, a group of few people that the United States of America was able to destroy Iraq, that took Iran 8 years to fight, and they could not destroy Iraq. But the United States destroyed Iraq in 2 months, but cannot destroy Al-Qaeda. That even after 9 years, we are, the United States government, still fighting. He went on to say that while winding down the war in Iraq, well, we don't know. You know, he said that we removed nearly 100,000 troops from Iraq. But ladies and gentlemen, Iraq is a very divided country. Iraq is left, the United States went there, destroyed it, and left it to suffer. And Iraq is suffering. Iraq does not have a government. So the war, maybe the United States war, is winding down in Iraq. But the Iraqi war, it's still raging. He said, since I took office, the United States has removed nearly 100,000 troops from Iraq. Yeah, of course, we sending them to Afghanistan to fight Al-Qaeda. since Tora Bora. We have done so responsibly. I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that means. Because this war, if anything, it has not been a responsible war by responsible people, by responsible country. As Iraqis have transitioned to lead responsibility for the security of their country, ask those who died yesterday in bombings. Ask those who died the day before. And tell that to those who will die in Iraq. While drawing down in Iraq, we have refocused on defeating Al-Qaeda and denying its affiliates a safe haven in Afghanistan. The United States and our allies are pursuing a strategy to break the Taliban's momentum and build the capacity of Afghanistan's government and security forces so that a transition to Afghan responsibility can begin next July. The Taliban momentum is growing. The war in Afghanistan, even our own generals said, it cannot be won through military means. Obama himself said that he has a window of 2 years, and those 2 years are almost over. When that strengthened, talking about the government, the transition to Afghan responsibility can begin next July. And from South Asia to the Horn of Africa, we are moving forward a more targeted approach. No, we are opening up more fronts, more wars in Somalia, in Yemen, probably soon in Sudan, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, maybe in Iran. I don't see this. When that strengthens our partners and dismantles terrorist networks without deploying large American armies. He's trying to tell you that we are engaged in more wars than you can think of. He's trying to tell you we do have operations going on from South Asia to the Horn of Africa. As we pursue the world's most dangerous extremists, we are also denying them the world's most dangerous weapons and pursuing the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons. Really? Why are you pushing the world not to ask or question Israel's nuclear weapons? The United States just pressured Arab countries and Muslim countries and South American countries and others from asking the United Nations Nuclear Atomic Energy Agency, from asking and pushing the issue of Israel not signing the Non-Proliferation Treaty. If we are doing this, Mr. President, why aren't you asking Israel? Why aren't you even mentioning Israel? Israel is the one that cannot live without wars and has 400 nuclear weapons. But yet, we are pressuring and boycotting and want to put a siege around a country because we think it is pursuing nuclear weapons. I watched an interview yesterday with Larry King and President of Iran, Ahmadinejad. And you would think that Larry King would ask questions. I mean, the United States almost at war with Iran. The United States might be sending bombers to Iran soon, dragged by the Israelis to enter this war against Iran. And old Larry King of CNN, the Zionist Larry King, that is, all he can ask Ahmadinejad, he spent 2/3 of the interview not asking the president of the country that the United States might find itself at war with, not asking him about the prospects of this war. Why are we going to war against your country? No, he asked him about 3 hikers who were arrested about a year ago crossing the border from Iran, Westerners. That Iran saying those were spies. Now, Larry King spent 2/3 of that interview asking Ahmadinejad, why don't you release those people? They have families. Their mother sent a message to you and he read the message. You're a father, or if you were a father, or if this was your son, wouldn't you be pushing this? Now, let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Those 3, they were caught hiking. They said they were hiking. Now, hiking between the area, between Iran and Iraq, in the middle of a war, that's kind of hard to really swallow. That these people could not find a better place to hike, these Westerners could not find a better place to hike except the border between Iran and Iraq when Iraq is in the middle of a war. So Ahmadinejad told him that it's not in my hands, it's in the courts. It's not in my hand. I'm the president, but I have no idea what these courts and judges and what they have, I can't tell them to, which is true. How many people, if we catch, how many illegal aliens who cross the border to the United States? Do you know how many we have in American jails? Thousands. They have families. They have mothers. Can we release them? I received a note last night from a Palestinian mother, and a Palestinian American mother lives in North Carolina, which we'll probably be having her next week. Her son was arrested by the United States about, 2 years, 3 years ago, because he visited Jordan and he visited Palestine. When he came back, he was arrested, and for 3 years they have no clue what's going on with him. Well, we're going to have her on the program hopefully next week to see, can we tell Obama, hey, release this little American, the guy was 2 years old when his family immigrated to the United States, a Palestinian American. And then Larry King had the audacity to even ask the president, because apparently there is an Iranian woman who is accused of killing her husband, and there was rumors saying that she was going to be stoned. So Larry King asked, now remember, this is the president of Iran with Larry King, and we're about to go to war with this country, and all Larry King can say is, can you stop, you're fixing to stone this woman? Can we plead for her mercy? Would you not do it? And Ahmadinejad told him, he said, look, this woman is accused of murdering her husband. Now, and also it's in the hands of the court. And no one has said that this woman is going to be stoned. Someone in Germany started this rumor about Iran wanting to stone this woman, that Larry King could not find anything except saying, can you spare her life? Stoning, Larry King, the United States is about to fry Teresa Lewis next week. You've seen Teresa Lewis' picture. We got her picture. Yes, this woman is in the United States. She is about to be fried. I don't know how they're going to do it, either by injection or by electric chair. I don't really follow the story to see exactly how they're going to kill her. But she will be, because the governor will not, he did not agree to a stay of execution. So we have other important, but you see what Larry King was trying to do? He was trying, even in this interview, trying to show how barbaric these people are, how inhuman these Muslims are in Iran. Because, well, these hikers, we got thousands of people in jail. And if somebody crosses, and in a very volatile area, it's a war zone, for God's sake. And when you find some Westerners, oh, by the way, we were just hiking. Really? You know, when people from South America and Latin America, when they cross the border here, coming to life, because they want to feed their families back home. Because we very much happen to have the money that we printed and told the world that we are the richest country in the world. Well, by the way, we're not. We're borrowing. We're using. That's what imperialism is all about. Using the resources of other countries. So that's exactly what we're doing. But when they cross over here, we catch them, we put them in jail. And then until we give them hearings and we deport them. Well, that's exactly what Iran has done. And they were not crossing the border to come because they were hungry in their countries. They did not cross that border because they really needed to feed their families. They crossed the border. They said, we were hiking. Okay, enough of that. So, the other deal with the United Nations, of course, is Ahmadinejad's speech. He very much, he would have been better off throwing a grenade in the middle of the General Assembly floor. He made some shocking statements. Very shocking statements. He told everybody that 9/11, he said there were three opinions on what happened on that day. He said, number one, it could have been done like the official United States story is, that a group of terrorists may have committed the atrocities on 9/11. Now remember, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about 9/11 and who committed 9/11, we are very much hosts of a TV show and a radio show with a PhD in international relations, so no big deal. And by the way, we do not accuse, and everyone, when someone says it's an inside job, I always say, don't say that. Don't accuse the United States government of being part of 9/11, because it's wrong. But ask for an investigation and let the truth come out. And let the marbles fall wherever they fall. But get that in a court of law when you have evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the best way to handle this. But what Ahmadinejad said, he said, it could be this group of terrorists that the United States is telling that it has. But he also said the other opinion out there, that actually departments from within the United States government may have did the attack of 9/11. The third opinion, he said, is departments within the United States may have helped those who planned. So either way, two of his three opinions lays it squarely on the United States government. Now, that is a huge thing, ladies and gentlemen, from a president of a country. Because see, president of countries have to be responsible to their countries. And I'm assuming that President Ahmadinejad has an intelligence service that can actually give him that information and say, you will be okay, Mr. President. Now, of course, if his intelligence service happened to be like our CIA, when they told President Bush that yellow cake from Niger was actually being sent to Iraq so they can make weapons of mass destruction, uranium from Niger, it's called yellow cake. That's what Douglas Feith actually had concocted in his Office of Special something operations at the Pentagon. They concocted that story, and actually originated in Sharon's office. Prime Minister Ariel Sharon's office, that's where it originated. It was carried out through Douglas Feith, he's an Israeli, but he was on top of the Special Operations Office at the Pentagon, and then they gave that information to the president. If Ahmadinejad's intelligence service is like that, well, he has a problem. But Ahmadinejad is responsible for the statements he had made, that he blames the United States government as being part of the attack on 9/11. I say, I don't believe anything. Do an investigation. But this is more of a reason to actually do an investigation of 9/11, so we would know exactly what happened to the United States, what happened to the world. Only the truth will light up the future for the United States and for the world. Without that truth, without that torch, and the United States should be the torch to lead, to light up the future, not to torch the world with destruction and death. Well, going back to Obama, he said some nice things about what he would like to see happen between the Israelis and the Palestinians. He said that hopefully within 1 year that we will see a Palestinian state, and we will welcome the newest member next time we meet in New York at the General Assembly, that hopefully we will have a new Palestinian state. I'm not holding my breath, of course, but this is a consumption for domestic and international minds. Domestically, Barack Obama wants something to show the people. So in November next month, people will vote for Democrats. That's what this whole thing about the peace thing between the Palestinians and the Israelis that Barack Obama so hard worked for. Well, what is going on as the peace process, the peace treaty, the peace agreement, the peace negotiations, whatever you want to call them, going on as we speak right now? So you have two parties, the Palestinians and the Israelis, are speaking, sitting down at the same table, talking about peace. In the meantime, back at the farm, it's a totally different story. You know, last night with Ahmadinejad and Larry King goes, well, we want to make sure that the security of Israel, that Israel is secured. You know, ladies and gentlemen, they keep telling you that's the security of Israel, the security of Israel, as if the Palestinians really can harm Israel. You know, the Palestinians who are fighting for their lives without weapons, And Israel has the most sophisticated weapons in the world with 400 nuclear bombs, fighter jets, stealth bombers, tanks, cannons, automatic weapons, missiles, submarines. What else there are out there? And they probably have some missiles in space or something in space. While the Palestinians have nothing but stones. They face the Israeli army, the occupation army, with stones. So as the Palestinians and the Israelis sit down to talk about peace, we're going to show you what is going on in Jerusalem, the city of peace, while Benjamin Netanyahu lies to the world and says, oh, I want peace with the Palestinians. Let's play the videos to show how peaceful these bastards are. Anytime now. This is what's going on in Jerusalem, ladies and gentlemen. Every night for the last few months. Israeli army. Going in the middle of the night, terrorizing Palestinian neighborhoods. All these are Israeli military troops. In the middle of the night. Talk about terrorized children. I guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, if you see these scenes every night on your television sets from Fox and CNN, Palestine would have been liberated a long time ago. I challenge CNN and Fox to put these videos on. Now, this is here.
Right wing in Israel. These people are Jewish settlers who believe they have a God-given right to this land.
God-given right.
Who want to remove Palestinians not only from Silwan, but from most of East Jerusalem.
This is the capital of Israel. We don't have a right to be here, to build here, and to destroy Arabs that are building illegal houses. We don't have a right to be anywhere in the world.
Mind you, Arabs have been there for thousands of years, and these are European settlers.
In terms of provocation, it's huge. Local Palestinians see this as an aggressive statement by a group of settlers who are determined to remove Palestinians from their homes and their land. Their fury is tangible. The people of Silwan lined the streets, denouncing the settlers' call to demolish Palestinian homes. For them, this small march is part of a bigger scheme by the Israelis to change the character of East Jerusalem for good.
Their goal is to say Arabs go out, Palestinians go out. It's all settlers the same. There is no good and bad settler. All they have the same ideology, which is also connected to the right government now, which also plans to make a transfer for Palestinians. They started already in West Bank. They are about to transfer 70,000 Palestinians.
A statement issued by the EU's foreign policy chief, Catherine Ashton, said she was deeply concerned over recent settlement-related activity in East Jerusalem and the recent unrest in Silwan. It stressed that the European Union has never recognized the annexation of East Jerusalem, reminding Israel that settlements and the demolition of homes are illegal under international law. They constitute an obstacle to peace and threaten to make a two-state solution impossible. Shireen Tadros visited those families whose homes are threatened by Israel's demolition plans.
The latest battlefield in the fight for land being waged on Palestinian residents of East Jerusalem. Weeks of sporadic clashes in Silwan between police and Palestinians are becoming more intense. On Sunday, after a minor incident involving Palestinian children cursing guards protecting Jewish settlers, the Israeli police, backed up by helicopters, raided the neighborhood, injuring several Palestinians. Ahmed and his 8-month pregnant wife were inside their home next door to a settler house when the police suddenly attacked.
They broke the door down and threw gas canisters into the house. We couldn't get out. 4 children fainted from the gas, and so too did my pregnant wife. We're expecting more violence.
Silwan is a Palestinian neighborhood near Jerusalem's old city. Jewish settlers are increasingly encroaching on the land. Tension here is at an all-time high after the Jerusalem municipality approved a controversial plan to demolish 22 Palestinian homes to make way for a park and shopping complex. The scheme still needs final approval, but settlers are taking the law into their own hands. The Jewish settlers in this Palestinian neighborhood have told residents they have until July 4th to leave their homes. After that, they promise they'll bring private security guards to forcibly evict them.
Smoke rises over the old city as violence flares again in East Jerusalem. Angry Palestinians set fire to Israeli vehicles, one of them a police car, retaliating to the death of one of their own killed in the early hours of Wednesday. Police say Samer Sahan was shot dead by a private Israeli security guard after he came under attack from a group of Palestinians throwing rocks. Sahan's grief-stricken family includes 5 young children. The anger at bullets being used to respond to rocks is obvious.
You're in your house, you don't know where the bullets are coming from. Since 2 a.m. they've been shooting here. Is this a war zone?
A death at the hands of a private security guard rather than the state security is making these clashes more intense than usual in the already volatile Silwan neighborhood. Tens of thousands of Palestinians live in this area, along with the relatively recent addition of 70 families of Jewish settlers, whose presence is considered illegal under international law. If anyone involved with the peace talks needed any reminding, this is the price that's paid for having Jewish families living on occupied Palestinian land. Heavily armed Israeli security forces are here, guarding the homes of those Jewish families living side by side with Palestinians in East Jerusalem. Israeli-Palestinian peace negotiations are delicately placed, with a 10-month moratorium on new construction in East Jerusalem and the West Bank due to expire next week.
This is calculated, coordinated provocation that has been going on for days all throughout the West Bank. Now we reach a point where a murder, an assassination has taken place in Jerusalem, and it's time for the whole world to see.
If clashes erupt of this intensity while peace talks are underway, one can only imagine the backlash if they fail.
All right, well, while Benjamin Netanyahu is telling the world that he is sitting down with the Palestinians to talk peace. Was that peace? And as if the Palestinians don't have enough people over there, enough Israelis, enough murderers to kill them. You know, you have the Israeli army, you have the Israeli police, you have the special forces, you have all these people are killing Palestinians left and right. You have settlers killing Palestinians left and right. Now, settlers are hiring private security firms. That Samir Serhan was killed actually by an Israeli private security guard in his house, in his neighborhood. Talking peace. And President Obama today saying and asking the Arab government to actually normalize relationship with Israel. Now the Arab governments did offer a peace plan, but on that peace plan it said, hey, we will normalize relationship with you, just stop killing the Palestinians. Allow a Palestinian state to be born. Now, Sunday is the deadline for the moratorium that Israel had actually put on building settlements. Ladies and gentlemen, there's about 11% of historic Palestine that is left for the Palestinians. Even though the 1947 partition plan that created Israel said the Jews at that time, you will have 52% of the land, even though they were only 9% of the population. I'm sorry, they were 29% of the population. Owned only 9% of the land, but yet the United Nations said you get 52% of the land. Of course, the Palestinians did not like it at that time. But now the Palestinians are saying, look, we accept the 22% of the West Bank and Gaza, of historic Palestine, of course. We will accept that. Just go back to the 1967 border. That's 1967, when Israel attacked and captured that land. Now the West Bank looks like Swiss cheese with many holes in it. The wall, the apartheid wall that Israel is still building, that is cutting off Palestinians from Palestinian cities, from cities, and towns from towns. And they're bringing these illegal Jews from all over the world. Nuts! Like what you saw earlier. They think God gave us, if my religion tells me that, you know what, God gave you the United States and every house in it, do you think just because I have a gun, I can come to your house? You've only been in it for about 250 years anyway. Palestinians been in those homes for thousands of years. You get a European, just because he says, I'm a Jew, and God gave me this land, so he shows up 4,000 years later and says, oh, by the way, God promised me this land, and you're going to have to leave, or I'm going to kill you. And they do kill Palestinians. That's what the story is, ladies and gentlemen. These Jews, these settlers that you saw going into Palestinian neighborhoods, people who have lived in those homes for thousands of years in Jerusalem. That is the old city of Jerusalem. These homes, they've been there for hundreds of years. So these people show up and say, oh, by the way, God gave us this land and I'm taking over your house. And Benjamin Netanyahu, look at these people. People, murderers. I can't call them people. They're animals, they're monsters with all these guns. And you see what the Palestinians have? So the Palestinians have stones, slingshots. That's what Israel is worried about. That's what President Obama says, the security of Israel. Put back on that slingshot picture and then come back to this picture. So this guy is actually Israel with all these people with the guns. These people are worried and afraid of this guy, and they want the world to give them security. They're afraid from these people. Stones. Come on now. You know, the Palestinians for the last 62 years have lived this life. What is that stone going to do? Can you tell me? Look at this. That's what the Palestinians are faced with. Well, we should have brought you some pictures also of tanks shooting at people and F-16s sending missiles down and phosphorus, white phosphorus, like you saw in Gaza. So the biggest lie is this Israel security. Who needs security, ladies and gentlemen? Who's killing who? Who has the guns? The Israelis. And they tell you, oh, security. That's the only thing. They're worried. They're afraid of the Palestinians. They're afraid of the Palestinians with their slingshots. Well, just get out. Leave them alone. Let them live. Live and let live. But they're not. On the one hand, as they are sitting down at the negotiation table, you see what's going on in the streets of Jerusalem in the middle of the night. Killings. And while Netanyahu sits across from Mahmoud Abbas, President Mahmoud Abbas, and talks about peace. What kind of peace? What kind of peace are they talking about? Who are they kidding? This has nothing to do with the Palestinians. This has a lot to do with the Democrats in this country using Palestine to their advantage. Just to tell the people in the country and the world, we're doing something. We're finally going to have peace between the Palestinians and the Israelis. Palestine. Poor Palestine. Everybody is using it. You listen to Obama, he wants the Palestinian people to have a sovereign country. You listen to Ahmadinejad, the same story. You listen to Abdullah Gül, the president of Turkey, the same story. Gaddafi, Obama, Mubarak, Chavez. Who else? Even Tony Blair, when he was the prime minister. President Carter tried it. George Bush, Reagan, and George Bush, and Clinton, and everybody prostituted Palestine. The Arab countries have been doing it since 1948. They even probably tried not to even have a Palestinian state since then, because they know a Palestinian state will be the only democratic country in that region. And that's why they are afraid of a Palestinian state. What will they do if Palestine was not there? They cannot tell their people that they're working for it. The Saudis, the Qataris, the Kuwaitis, everybody is using Palestine. It's laughable matter, ladies and gentlemen. It really is. It really is. And the poor Palestinians, they're the one to lose every time. You know, in the General Assembly, in the United Nations General Assembly, and the United Nations itself, they always talked about Palestinian rights. They talked about Zionism is racism. What happened? Nothing. They even put an X, Zionism is racism, a few years back. They talked about Palestinian sovereignty. They talked about the Palestinian self-determination. What happened? Nothing. Palestine is less and less. Death comes to Palestinians more and more. Misery. Palestinians have been living in refugee camps in countries like Lebanon and Syria and Egypt and Jordan, and even living in refugee camps inside Palestine itself for 62 years. hoping to return to their homes that were confiscated at point of the gun, or at gunpoint, by these Zionist Jews who came from Europe, claiming that God gave them the right to go in, kill the people of the land, and take the land from them. That's if they want to purify their souls, because they can only do that if they redeem the land of God. Now, God that created the universe and earth is only one teeny tiny piece in this whole universe. He wanted that piece of land. They said that's God's land. So he created all of this, but yet he wanted that little piece. And these people, 4,000 years after they wrote that God had given it to them, now they come in to kill the people of that land. And they're doing it. You know, they're breaking international laws by, East Jerusalem. International law says East Jerusalem is Palestinian, is an occupied area. You cannot bring your people into occupied land. That's what international law says. We either live in a world of laws or outlaws. But we cannot claim to be law, and with the law, and with international law, but yet we are helping and serving outlaws. There were so many United Nations General Assembly and United Nations even Security Council resolutions that says Israel must leave the land. Israel must free the land. Israel must bring back those forced off their land back in 1948 and 1967. But Israel has not done any of this. Shouldn't the United Nations actually go and make Israel do this? Shouldn't the world say Israel, instead of going after Iran and going after Sudan and going after this and after that, shouldn't the United States be the beacon of democracy and freedom and actually force Israel to do this? Of course not. He cannot do it, because Israel is the one that tells the United States what to do and where to go. This is the world we live in, ladies and gentlemen. This is the world we live in. And Israel is able to do that because the media we have in the United States is pro-Israel. Actually, it's Israeli. It's not just pro-Israel, it's Israeli. If you watch the media, but if you go on the internet and you really do your search, you will see the truth. If people in the United States would know the truth about what's going on in this country and how politics works and how Israel is actually forcing the United States to do things that are against its own self-interest. The war in Iraq, it was not an American objective. But removing Saddam Hussein from power was an Israeli objective in its own right, and as it was written in the clean break document that was written for Benjamin Netanyahu by people who became policy makers in the first Bush administration, Richard Pearl and Douglas Feith and many others. So who is driving the policy, the foreign policy of the United States? It is Zionist, Israeli, and their accomplices in the United States. They're stooges in the United States. Power, politics, money. That's what happens. That's what happens. And then you have a media that kind of directs you exactly where to go. Hate this group of people, we hate you. Hate the Russians, we hate you. Hate the Muslims, we hate you. Hate the Iranians, we hate you. They're telling you. They're telling you exactly where to go and how to go. Now everybody Sarah Palin. Come on, people. Wake up. No, don't wake up. It's too late. Just stay sleeping. There's nothing, absolutely nothing you can do. If you cannot even tell the difference when someone is lying to you, when they bring you Glenbeck in so many different skins, one time sheepskin, one time rabbit skin, one time a wolf, one time a lion, and you can't tell the difference between these two. You keep calling him Glenbeck, Glenbeck, Glenbeck. When he was with CNN, he was the vicious wolf that was saying, kill the Muslims, kill the Muslims. Then they wanted him to go, they want him to use him so they can get people away from Ron Paul. And they did. And they started the Tea Party. Now, now he's saying, oh no, I'm not the leader of the Tea Party. Yeah, but he forgot when he was in San Antonio at the Alamo making his speech, and with his friend Sean Hannity was doing the same thing to bring this Tea Party out. Tea Party, Republican Party, period. Actually, it is worse than the Republican Party, and they're going to use these people. They're going to use these people, and they're going to chew them and throw them out. You will see, because Fox Network started this. Now they're starting to distance themselves from the Tea Party. Now they're bringing you Glenbeck in a different view. Glenbeck the evangelist, restoring honor. You want to restore honor? Get educated. Get off stupid. You want to restore honor? Get off stupid. Become your own person. Don't let CNN and Fox affect your mind. You've got to understand, media is controlled. Media is controlled. That's what you need to tell yourself, that the media is controlled. You want to be smart, you want to be a human being, you want to be able to judge for yourself, get educated. Don't get stuck on stupid. Don't get stuck on stupid. Take it, think about it, whatever you want to do, but the next time you see Glenbeck, Sean Hannity, or you listen to Sean, what's his name, Rush Limbaugh, or Michael Savage, or any of these people, anybody in the media, I don't care. Be careful, because it's agenda driven. Be careful, it's agenda driven. Don't get stuck on stupid. Get on. The internet is full of stuff, good, bad, and ugly. But that's why God gave you brain to cipher through the information you're going to get on the internet and decide for yourself which way to go. Don't let one man lead you into a direction that has been planned for you. Okay? That's the difference. Sure, of course, don't believe everything you see in the internet. Definitely. But the more you read and the more you search, you're going to get it. Finally, you will say, well, wait a minute, but at least let it be an educated guess. Whichever way you decide to go, I don't care whichever way you decide to go. You want to hate Muslims? Hate them for something you believe in. Not for something that some stupid guy told you about. That's what good people, good-hearted, good conscience, at least your conscience will be clear that you actually did the work to find out. Well, anyway, we only have less than a minute left. Hopefully you learned something tonight, and hopefully we were able to educate you a little bit, not too much, but you have to do a lot. The only thing I can tell you is don't believe things you see in the news. Don't believe Netanyahu to be a peace man. He is not. He's a war man, and he's a warmonger. He's a killer, and that's all I can tell you. All I can tell you is in the 20 seconds that we have left. Everybody is good at heart. Make sure you are good at mind. Good night. We will see you next Thursday. Same place, same time.